So the next category is going to be foreign policy. We all have seen the threat toward our national security, from the CCP advancing towards Taiwan, as well as Ukraine, or Russia advancing towards Ukraine. We also had seen over the weekend that Iran was threatening to kill Americans for President Trump having General Soleimani killed. There's a lot of threats coming towards our nation. So this question is going to be a foreign policy question, and we're going to start with you, Nathan. What do you consider to be our greatest national security threat, and what are your solutions to hold that country accountable, and should that country be sanctioned?
The number one foreign policy threat to the United States is China. But we need to step back here and kind of peel the onion and determine how we got here. Because the current day, it's a more dangerous world right now than under Trump. And this is what you get when you nominate or have installed a presidency who is super weak. If you go back just a couple of months in Anchorage, Alaska, there was Senator Blinken, and he was getting kicked around by the Chinese officials. And there was this epic photo. There's just all these alpha male dogs on China's side. We had Blinken, who was scared half to death, and we had like a purple-haired person and like a pink-haired person. China is playing for real, and we are playing games. And the issue with the foreign policy is the strength of our leader. We just got to make it through with these 3 more years of Biden. And the way forward is get him removed.
Thank you.
No other country in the world can take America physically in a war. We will win. But this is what we're doing that's undermining our foreign policy. You look at the majority of companies in America, who owns them? The Chinese can come in here and buy what? Buy our company, own shares in our company. And from time to time, they want to get control of those companies. So our biggest challenge is not even the foreign policy, is the domestic permit we are giving to these people to come into our bedroom and want to take over. We have to be sensitive to what we allow other people to own in America. You don't own yourself if other people own you. So if it's war, I don't think, North Korea is going to send missiles. I don't know, it ain't going to happen. Well, we should control who owns things in America, because that's where we are going to get undermined.
You all heard of the America First foreign policy, right? That started actually after World War I, and it's not what it sounds like. America First policy was get involved in everybody else's business in the world. That's what it was originally known as. That's morphed into give everybody free money in the world. We gave away $60 billion last year in money. The majority of that went to North Africa and the Middle East. Let me put that in perspective. That was more money than we gave to 48 of our states. Only New York and California received more money. So there's my first way to balance the budget, is maybe cut off New York and California, and that might work. But giving people money that hates you doesn't work. Unfortunately, that's what this administration's policy is. We need to have foreign policy that starts by being strong and have everybody just a little bit afraid of the United States, like it was in the Trump administration. You can say what you want, but it worked.
It certainly worked. America First is the only way we can have a foreign policy. I'll tell you, President Trump did such a brilliant service to our nation, finally pulling the scales from our eyes to see that China is our number one enemy in his statement. We have several problems, and one of them is China buying up our farmland. So you think it's a problem if China owns all the vaccine production capabilities. Wait till they own our food supply. We've got to move aggressively. We've got to continue President Trump's policy of realizing that China is our enemy and stop China from controlling our food production. Because very insidiously, step by step, year by year, they are buying up our farmland. There's trouble coming if we don't act now.
Foreign policy, it's 1 minute I have. Now, one thing that I can tell you for sure, it's not just China. It's also Russia and Iran. Iran has been chanting death to America ever since they overthrew the Shah. They have proxy militias all across the Middle East. We gave Iraq to Iran. We gave Afghanistan to be the second theocratic government in the world. They're reverse manufacturing all of our military assets over there in China, and Russia's sitting there, got their own pipeline of oil. Now, that's a problem, and I'm sure President Donald Trump would agree with me on it too. But we also have them now coming through our southern border as well. It's a compound issue. And who's protecting Israel? They shot 3,000 rockets at Israel. The Iron Dome worked, but if we don't deal with Iran, you're not going to deal with China, and you're not going to deal with Russia. And you're not going to fix the border. It's an issue that we have to attack head on, like Donald Trump would. Good job, Pompeo, and we need to get more swagger in our foreign policy, and that's a committee I plan to sit on, where Colin Allred currently sits on.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as far as the greatest threat to the United States, we have a new axis of evil, and just like they've all mentioned, it's China, Iran, and Russia. So looking back historically, each one of those has another country that they're absolutely terrified of. Nothing terrifies the Chinese like the Japanese. We've been allies for 70 years now. If you want to back China, you want to get them backed into a corner, let the Japanese start doing exercises right off the border. Watch how quickly they shut everything down. Same thing with Iran. Nothing scares Iran as much as Israel. In the 1980s, the Israelis did a secret mission and bombed a nuclear reactor in Iraq. If we want to stop Iran from continuing to develop nuclear weapons, we just threaten to let Israel loose on them. Say, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing, but we're not going to hold Israel back anymore. Same thing with the Germans and the Russians. The uncomfortable truth in this country is we haven't won a war in 70 years because our politicians are spineless and they can't take the realities of war. Amen. So if we're going to war, we have to fight it all the way and we have to fight to win and bring our allies along with us.
Yeah.